Stand up by the Kings at their line and a good stick check. Rundstrom tried to dump it in. It hit Duncan Keith. Here's Moore on the recovery. Puts it right on. Rebound spilled by Smith. Loose puck in the blue paint. Skids wide. Out high at Stecher. Cranking up a slap shot. He scores! Troy Stecher with a blast! And the Kings lead 1-0 less than 4 minutes into Game 5.
Alrighty, folks, welcome back to another edition of Live in 5, episode number 55. That is double nickel. Jason White Chocolate Williams, my favorite player to ever do it. Nastiest handle, in my opinion, in NBA history. White Chocolate famously was teammates with Randy Moss in high school in Bell, West Virginia. They played basketball together. Jay Will was the quarterback in football. Well, who was he throwing that thing down the field to? Well, that was number 84, Randy Moss. So absolute legend out of West Virginia, has that backwood twang, similar to how Randy talks. But that's besides the point, because over here at Live in 5, and before we get into it, we're going to do our pre-show as we always do. But today, a very, very special guest, a guy that was in Ozzo's class at North Dakota. Stecher of the Edmonton Oilers joins the program. So Stechy's getting ready for camp. He is in Edmonton. Great chatting with him. He's going into his 9th year, Ozzo. And that's kind of crazy to say because it just seems like yesterday. I mean, all washed up guys like us say this, but it just seems like yesterday a guy like that was just breaking into the league. And if you were to tell me Stechy has now played 9 years or going on 9 years in the National, I mean, dude, that's if he gets to a decade in that league, like no one ever thought that guy would play 10 in the league. And I thought, and he's going to play more, but that's just with all due respect. This guy works for everything he's got.
100%. That guy. Yeah. I mean, to think it's been 9 years, Jordo, since he's entered, it feels that's just crazy. I don't feel that old, but yeah, he's had an amazing run. I mean, he has nothing against Stech. But Stechy, you got no business playing 10 years in the NHL, but you found a way to do it.
Yeah,
I mean,
and he's good too.
He's a hell of a player. So yeah, I mean, unbelievable story.
Yeah, and we're saying that just in defying the odds, right? Because he's a guy that's undersized as a defenseman.
Mm-hmm.
Probably he's not going to run a power play at that level, even though he's got decent skill, but it all goes back to, we get into the interview, is just a pit bull mindset of carving a way to play that long. And I think kids like, man, if you don't have the size or you need to be able to change your game or be able to adapt, like watch what that guy does out there, because he does. It's crazy how good he is, Ozzo. And we talked about it with Stech, and it just identifying what a D-core needs. And then he just goes in there and fills that gap.
Yeah. And it's not only that, Jordan, I think part of the game too is like, knowing what your coach wants out of you too.
Yep.
Not just the role that you think you should slide into. I think he's really good at knowing what the coach wants and what the team needs. And if, he can't beat another guy out on the power play, he's going to find a role somewhere, and it doesn't matter where. So yeah, I mean, just a huge asset of his to be able to slide into those roles and find spots to be effective.
Yeah, and I think just lastly on that, and we'll let Stech, the man himself, talk after the pre-show, but I just think like that is his best attribute, is just being able to identify what they need, and then number two, the trust every coach has in a guy like that, because at that level, it's all about trust. Can I put this guy over the boards, and can he get a job done for me? So not only does a team not, take repercussions for this, but I'm going to keep my job too, because in that league, it's not for long, right?
No.
In terms of coaches, players. So I think that's one of the biggest things, and his best attribute is just being able to be trusted to get a job done. So folks, we're brought to you always over here by Butter Golf and Mini Movers. Butter Golf is the official lifestyle and apparel brand. Mini Movers is the official moving company of Live in 5. You're looking at the captain right now. He's getting jobs done left, right, and center. He was banging them out all morning. Now we're hopping on a pod, talking to the people. So we are speaking on Wednesday. This will drop tomorrow. So Mini Movers and Butter Golf are the official brands of Live in 5. Folks, as we always do, please go over to our YouTube page. Go like that, subscribe to it. I think we're getting close to 3,000 subs now, Ozzo. You know what the funny thing is? We've had some great guests on, and the biggest or most watched interview, not even an interview, show on our YouTube page. I was telling you the stats the other day. Check the game notes. I was checking the stat pack, and for whatever reason, the Live in 5 award show was the highest grossing show right now in terms of views. So that's kind of funny, but not to pump our own tires over here, but yeah, that was that
was a hell of a show.
You never know. That was a hell of a show. So, folks, if you missed that one or you missed any of our interviews, you haven't seen the shorts in terms of the clips we put on our Instagram page and Twitter, aka X, please go over to YouTube. Go like, subscribe. It does not cost you anything at Live in 5 2024. Again, all the interviews on there. All of our shorts are on there. So please go check them out. We do love the interaction too. People are commenting more now, on our YouTube in terms of just the interviews, the short videos. So if you like something, like it. If you don't, well, hit the thumb down. And if you really like it, just comment. Say what up. Get those interactions up. This helps the mothership go to the moon, baby. Ozzo, lastly, we're brought to you by Gladiator Therapeutics. And Gladiator Therapeutics is out of the Neurologic Wellness Institute in Chicago. We had Dr. George Michaelopoulos on, and he was able to speak about that. I don't know if that was episode 44, 45, somewhere in there, but go check it out. Anyways, the ad reads like this. Are you tired of dealing with chronic aches and pains or neurological conditions? Gladiator Therapeutics offers a revolutionary solution using quantum physics to improve your health. Our devices use patented technology to emit far infrared light, stimulating cellular processes without heat. This can reduce inflammation, speed up healing, and enhance mobility. Clinical trials show impressive results, including a 400% increase in survivability in stem cells, accelerated wound healing up to 68% faster, and significant improvements in Parkinson's disease models. Wearable 24/7 without power, our devices can be a game changer. Visit www.gladiatortherapeutics.com/contact-DRGM to learn more and start your journey to better health. That one is always a fucking tongue twister, folks. Anyways, Ozzo, it is 9/11, my friend, and we wanted to start it up at the top with that, just in terms of paying our respects to the fallen. Last week, I was in New York City. I made sure I got my chin over to the One World Trade Memorial, taking a look at that new building. And every time and anytime I'm in New York City, which isn't a ton, but I try to get to One World Trade, take a look at all the names, obviously, for the fallen. And it's crazy. There was people from firefighters to everyday businessmen to people working in the towers to just random people around, even people on the planes, as like a guy like Ace Bailey, who was scouting at the time for the Los Angeles Kings. And a crazy story, actually, I think Bruce Boudreau was coaching in Anaheim at the time, and he was really good friends with Ace Bailey. And he was supposed to get on one of those birds. I don't know which one, but it was out of Boston. And for whatever reason, he didn't make that flight, or his trip was canceled. So he didn't end up getting on that flight. What did that flight ended up being? One of those that crashed into the tower. So life, I mean, we've been talking a lot about life lately and just how it is a game of inches. But Ozzo, what I wanted to ask you first off at the top was, it was a where were you moment. And we were younger kids, but where were you when those towers got hit?
Still remember. No, but Jordo, you mentioned the World Trade Memorial in New York City. I've been there. I don't know if cool is the right word for it, but that place, it is pretty cool. Just walking around and seeing what they've done for those people that did end up, passing that day. It's just a really cool memorial to go see. So if you're ever in New York City, I suggest you go there and see that. It is worth your time and money. But I was at home, Jordan. I was watching the news. I was about to go to school, I believe, and I just remember my parents were there, and it was on the news. And I was so young. I was asking my parents, like, why are they jumping out of the building? I didn't understand at all.
Yep.
And I still remember, like, it was one of the first times I've seen my parents, Jordo. They were like, they looked scared. And I had never seen my parents look scared before. I thought they were adults. I was like, nothing can scare these people. They were like terrified. So I'll never forget that moment, asking them, why are they jumping out of the buildings? They couldn't even answer. They didn't even answer me. They were just watching in awe. Just a crazy event, man. You'll never forget it.
Yeah, and I was the same with you, Ozzo. That day, I remember it like it was yesterday. And there's not a whole lot of things I remember in my childhood, but this, like we said, I think everyone remembers where they were when those towers got struck. It's a where were you kind of moment. And I was 8 years old at the time, or maybe even 7, turning 8, because it was in 2001. So math guy, I was 7, almost 8 years old. And we, for whatever reason, were at home still because we had a dentist appointment. And I just remember being in my parents' bedroom, sitting on their bed, like you, Ozzo, not really knowing what the hell was going on. My mom obviously probably called my dad on a cell phone, probably used a landline in some, whatever early model cell phone in terms of like a Motorola Razr, whatever they were, those flip phones, LG style. And I just remember not really knowing what was going on. I remember going to school still very confused after that. I got there at probably like 10:30 Central, maybe 11 a.m. And no one really knew. Our teachers were kind of telling us, trying to describe what was going on. And the crazy thing is, Ozzo, is those towers got hit, but then the Pentagon was the next target. And then who knows where they were going to try to go after that. And people had no idea, were they coming for other spots? Were they coming for places like LA? Were they coming for Chicago? So there was a whole ruckus, a whole circus of just emotions. And I mean, I just remember how scared everyone was. And even being in East Grand Forks, North Dakota, or a small town like Middleton, Wisconsin, where I was at the time, it was really a scary time and just like shock, man. You don't even really know what to say. And then you kind of learn after, in the aftermath, what exactly went on. But at first, no one really knew it was a terrorist attack. No. And no one even knew what was happening. I mean, but those planes kept going down. And yeah, I mean, I think outside of Pearl Harbor, that was like the first invasion of the U.S. It was a crazy event. I mean, and you're right. You didn't know if that was the end of it or if it was going to continue on. And I just remember how much everything changed after that day too. Yeah. Going into an airport, it was like going to before that event, it was like going to a bus stop. Like you just walk on the plane. Yeah, it was like going to a bar. You just show, if you're under 21, you show your ID and that's it. Yeah, so I mean, I'll never forget that day. And honestly, Jordo, 5 years ago, we actually started Mini Movers. Mini Movers became a company on 9/11. So I almost have to change that anniversary or something, try to get it changed to the 12th. Yeah, or the 10th. Because it's like I don't even really post anything about Mini Movers anniversary because you can't. Yeah, like, I know. Who the hell cares? Yeah, and the aftermath was just a very emotional time. It was the biggest tragedy in our lifetime, Ozzo, in terms of just being a tragic event, an emotional time. And like you said, so many things changed after that, even going into baseball games, hockey games, concert venues. It all changed. There's metal detectors. You get patted down, which rightfully so, because there are crazies out there. But it just sucks it had to take something like that. But one of the coolest moments was, and we just posted it on our Live in 5 accounts, was about a month after that, maybe 6 weeks, George W. took the mound at Yankee Stadium with a bulletproof vest on, went out there, chucked the ball from the mound. He didn't, a lot of people puss out and they don't go fully up to the mound. He went right to the rubber and threw a dart. And every time I see that video, it's like chills, it's sadness, it's joy. And a little backstory someone told me in and around New York City, and I think it's true, was Derek Jeter pregame was telling him, like, don't fuck this up. Like, we need you to throw a strike, kind of half kidding, trying to lighten the mood, but at the same time, like, America needs this. And what did W do? He went out there like a good Texan he is. He tossed and threw that thing. And I mean, circle change or not, that thing was right down the chute. That's a strike in any league, Ozzo. Oh yeah. That was I mean, something like that obviously it was a terrible event, but I think some positives did come out of it. It certainly made my family fly the flag with pride, and it brought the country together. We were all on the same side at that moment, and especially in a time like now when it feels like everyone's divided, especially election time. It
it certainly brought everyone together in the States. Everyone rallied behind it. And, that's probably the only positive to come out of it.
Yeah, everyone was proud to be an American for 5, 6, 7 years after that.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the aftermath of it. And you felt it. You felt the sense of pride to protect the country, be an American, fly the flag high, and just be patriotic. And that's something we're missing right now, man. It really is. You watch these debates. We're not a political podcast, but you got, just donkeys tweeting left, right, and center of, they're going to solve the world's problems. So in a time where we need a little bit more patriotism, a little bit more unity, it's right now. So Azo, weekend recap, my friend. What'd you get up to this weekend? I mean, it's kind of the post-Labor Day blues a little bit in terms of you're getting almost into the fall. It was NFL Week 1, so you're always a little horned up for that. But what'd you get up to? How was the Sunday? Where'd you chill at? Did you go to a bar and watch, or you just dogs up on the couch, kind of, taking it all in on Red Zone?
So I went up to my parents' lake cabin Friday evening. It was my mom's birthday, so we all surprised her there. She was pumped. It's always good. Like, my mom's Super Bowl is when all of her kids can visit her, and that's all she really cares about. So it's really cool doing that for her. They found this bar, Jordan, on Saturday. We were celebrating my mom's birthday. They found this bar in Winger, Minnesota, called Liquor Pigs.
I saw that, and you tagged me in it. I was fired up. I was like, God damn it. I want to be in fucking Winker, Minnesota right now.
Yeah, it was electric. These people, we walked in with a big crew, and there's 2 locals in there. Probably never seen anyone else walk in there, and they were looking at us like, what the fuck are these guys doing in here? But we had a great time.
How good is a good old-fashioned piss-up at a bar like that with all your family, too? Because it's just... There's nowhere else in the world you'd rather be, man.
No,
come to the bar, as they say.
We were playing cricket on the dartboard, just hammering back Miller Lights. It was an unbelievable time. And then we went home, fell asleep Sunday. I actually drove home during the Vikings game. Had Gabby drive the car. I was on my phone just watching the Vikes. And then once I got home, it was dogs up, just on the old love sack. Didn't leave the rest of the night. Ordered. It's so funny, Jordo, because I don't love eating unhealthy, but since football is back, I ordered myself maybe 2 pounds of chicken wings, and I'm like, yeah, I can eat chicken wings. Fucking football's back. Like, just justify it in my head, like, there's nothing wrong with eating chicken wings. I'm watching football.
That was, I mean, crab cakes and football. That's what Maryland does. I found myself in the same boat on Sunday at DraftKings Social over here in Scottsdale, Azo. I blacked out before you knew it. I had a pound of wings down the hatch, and I had probably 50 pieces of nachos right down the barrel. I'm like, what just happened? What did I just do? I blacked out because you just get in that environment. You get in that smell. You get in that aura of fried food, nachos, wings, and you're surrounded by the game's going on. There's 50 different TVs. And, I wasn't on the piss that day, so I thought that was a win in itself.
Yeah, it is. But it's always funny to me realizing, like, how you justify doing things in your head. And I completely justified eating all these wings simply because football was back. Yeah. It was hilarious. I'm like, this is not a reason to just eat a ton of wings, but I'm telling myself it is.
Bro, and even this just to kick off the NFL season, I mean, we had Thursday, Friday, then Saturday. Obviously, it's a little bit of a lull, but not much because you have a lot of good college games. Notre Dame gets beat. I always love when those fucking losers get beat. Guys, I know some guys that are listening probably went to Notre Dame. A lot of Chicago guys, my buddies went there, but fuck Notre Dame. I like when they lose. So that was huge. And then Sunday, it's like, oh my God, you wake up with a Ken Stiffy Jr. in your pants and you're like, holy shit, let's go. And Oslo, the best thing about being on the West Coast over here is games start at 10 a.m. So they're right in your jaw. Like, you get that workout in. I got a workout in at 8 in the morning, and then it was just like nonstop action until 9 o'clock. And it's nice because the games end a little earlier. So that game, and they end up winning. They covered. That was my lock of the week. But that ends at, 8:30. That's not bad. For you, it's 10:30 people on the East Coast. It's 11:30. That's a grind getting to your Monday. But for me, I still got time to do something after, baby.
Oh, sports. If you're on the Pacific time zone and even the mountain, that's prime time, baby. I mean, you still got the evening left. If you're on the East Coast, sports, those late night games suck. Like,
Yeah, they do. Especially like a Monday nighter. That sucks.
Yeah, that ain't great. But yeah, I mean, some good matchups first week though, Jordo. That was fun to watch.
Yeah, and before we get into that, Azo, I just got one thing that I want to mention on my weekend. I did that Sunday, but on Saturday, I want you to try this. And I want some people listening to try this because I used to do this probably like once a week. And I used to sometimes do it up and down a mountain. But on my building's rooftop, there's a track, and it's about 6.5 laps, 6.25 laps that does a mile.
Mhm.
So I try to do as quick as possible a 1 mile lunge. So I lunge a mile straight. So what I'll do is 300 at a time, and I'll take like 1 or 2 breaks while I'm doing it for the first 300 for
Mhm.
like 10 to 30 seconds. And it ends up being probably close to 900 to 1,000 lunges. And it takes me, with the rest in there, it takes me about 34 minutes. And Azo, we're sitting here on Wednesday, and I still can't walk. It wipes me out for 5 or 6 days. I was on the sheet yesterday. I could barely bend over. Today, I went and played some tennis. I couldn't move out there. I also did a workout. The guy had me doing lunges during the work. I'm like, are you kidding me? I still can't move. But those first 3 or 4 days after you do it, you're completely locked up. So you got to try Jay Swish's special. It's the 1 mile lunge circuit. It is so fucking hard, but you pay for it even harder the next 4 or 5 days.
I gotta try that, Jordo. I've done the lunge circuit, but I've only went 400 meters.
Okay.
I went one time around the track, and I don't know how you went 3 more times because I couldn't even move for 2 days after one time around the track.
Yeah, it's not for everybody, and it's the reason why I like it is because you have to put your chin on the line. It's more mental than it is physical. Now, the first lap is actually the hardest because you're thinking, I just want to fucking quit, and this is stupid. Then you get to the second lap, your legs warm up a little bit, and then mentally after that, it's just bare knuckles and just grab your cock and show me what you got. But yeah, it's one thing that I like to do maybe once a month. I kind of got away from it, just not being here in the summer, but it's something I like to do once a month just to remind myself, hey, motherfucker, life ain't easy, and neither is this. So I like
love
to do
that.
Yeah, so you have to try that 1 mile lunge circuit. It's tough, fella. But getting into some games here, Azo, quickly just wanted to mention, so Pardon My Take is a Barstool podcast that features Dan Katz, aka Big Cat, and PFT. So this is a podcast that's usually number one on top of all of Spotify, Apple in terms of sports podcast. And they do the fastest 2 minutes in sports, which is like a spinoff of Chris Berman back in the day on Sports Center, where they come up with these just funny terms. They always like have really good puns, similar to we use puns with names and different things. But the way these guys snap it, like, I know you might know the answer, but like, who the hell comes up with this shit? Because it's so good.
It's unbelievable. They are wizards, man. They're like, and I've heard kind of some rumblings about and read some stuff about who comes up with it. I know Big Cat and PFT are pretty creative guys. It kind of comes naturally to them. It's almost like talking to an artist, music artist, and asking them, how long does it take you to write a song? And like Lil Wayne can put one together in 5 minutes. They're just think like that. So I think those guys do a lot of the work, but yeah, they do an incredible job. And those are always so fun to listen to on Monday mornings. I listen every Monday. Just because they're just so creative, man. I don't know how they think of this stuff.
Yeah, it's the best part of their whole show, their entire show. They do it every week after every game. So it's like 17, 18 weeks. Every Monday, they'll record and drop that. But it's always fun. I just love their puns. It's like, the Antonio Kevin Gates. Like Kevin Gates is the guy that sang Two Phones. Like it's always just like the funniest little puns like they'll throw in there. In the way they can kind of just spin it off and make it all make sense. And some weeks they kill it in terms of the writing is always on point, just the delivery is hard because it's so sped up. So some weeks they're just snapping it just fully. Some weeks they kind of get a little stumbled up, jammed up, but they make it funny. So yeah, that is actually, Azo, I might go on the record and say that's my favorite part of NFL season is those guys doing the fastest 2 minutes in sports. So shout out to PFT and Big Cat. You're not listening, but you know what? Those guys do a good job. Azo, speaking of someone taking a little bit of, flack in the booth, not snapping it as crispy, maybe as the fastest 2 minutes in sports, was rookie broadcaster who got the bag, Tom TB12 Brady. Did you catch any of his game or analysis? I didn't really listen to it, but I saw some clips. Obviously saw the lulls in his game to start as a rookie, but it didn't sound perfect, and it didn't sound like the public loved him as much as, say, as a guy like Tony No Homo Romo came in, as you remember, calling every play out, and people loved him. Now I think it's kind of the opposite, where people kind of hate that guy. So is this maybe just a slow start for TB12? Maybe he's easing into it. Kind of how he came into the league as a player, where, he just got in there, started getting some reps as a scout team, and then ultimately took off. But now, he's making the big bag right away. So it's like, I think people expect more.
Yeah, I definitely think people expect more. I think I'm a huge TB12 guy. I love that guy. Everything he's done in football speaks for itself. But I think he's handcuffed himself a little bit, Jordo, because he's trying to become an owner of the Oakland Raiders, which means he can't talk about a lot of things on air, which honestly restricts him from being a good analyst. He can't say some of this stuff. So I don't know. It seems to me like, Tom Brady's an all-in guy, right? Like, he goes all in football. If you want to be great at something, you have to go all in. Obviously, all these analysts, they get paid the big bucks because they do their homework and they go all in. I don't know if he's all in on this because he's trying to become a owner of the Raiders. He's got all this stuff going on. Like, do you really want to be an analyst, or do you want to be an owner of an NFL team? Like, I don't know if you can be both of them at the same time. Now, it is Tom Brady. Maybe he can, but listen, it's Tom Brady. Let's be honest. He's going to do a good job eventually. You just expect him to. But yeah, I did hear he's got some kinks to work through, which I don't think you love to see or hear if you're the broadcasting station that hired him. I think you want him to hit that stage running.
Yeah, imagine not being all in for $350 million over a 10-year deal. Greg G-Reg Olson was unbelievable, and he took his job ultimately. And I think Tom Brady will figure it out regardless, because he is a competitive guy. And if he starts seeing some negative feedback or people coming down on him, he's a guy that I think, when you're a dog, you're a dog. You want to be the best at whatever you're doing, whether you're playing a game of, tic-tac-toe against your kid, you're outside playing a game of badminton, pickleball, or you're in the booth. You always want to be the best. And yeah, I was just surprised because I think he's the way the guy, he's an articulate fella. Like, he can get his point across. Obviously, one of the smartest guys in terms of a football mind ever. And it seems like just the way he can communicate would transfer. But Azo, as we know, on a very lighter side of things, is once those lights come on and you're in the booth and you got the suit on, it's a little bit different a game. You're not on the field anymore. And, that's real time. And that is real reps coming right across your jaw. And you don't have as much time as you think to get your point across. You got someone in your ear saying 3, 2, 1. Okay, you got 15 seconds. So it's a lot of different things to get used to. And maybe TB12, he did that one warm-up game. I think it was like the UFL, whatever the fucking that league is. And maybe, it's just, you get to the regular season and, you know what? Now it's the bright light. So, but I think he'll figure it out and, eventually be okay. Speaking of okay, Azo, is Tyreek Hill okay? The guy got his chin put on the pavement, got told to get out of his Ferrari or Lamborghini, and then, got the screws taken out to him like he was, starring in Longest Yard in terms of being in a prison there. I don't know, like, what was going on there. Now, Tyreek Hill actually had an interview today in which I agree with. He himself, I think if he rolls down his window and just cooperates right off the bat, which he said was a mistake on his end, the rest of that probably doesn't happen, where the cop gets involved. He has this fuck you attitude. I'm going to, exert my power on you. Listen to what I say. Kind of that sort of mindset where now it could becomes like a little man syndrome almost. But what do you think of that, fella? At the end of the day, I don't think you got to do what you did to Tyreek Hill. And honestly, I think there should be a double standard. If you see that's Tyreek Hill, let Cheetah go. He's got a game, baby. Give him a ticket. Let him be on his way. I just thought that was a little unnecessary as cops. I mean, I love the boys in blue, but that just seems stupid to me and just very unnecessary. And like, what are we doing? That's Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, I mean, just like, I think there might be some people who disagree with me, but I'm completely a guy who's like, you know what, Scotty Scheffler driving up to a golf course, you don't arrest him. Okay. I know there's rules. I know you got to follow rules and laws, but this is like, have some common sense. There are some things there are some rules that you can brown bag it, and that's one of them. And Tyreek is certainly one of them. He's right outside the stadium. You obviously know he's a football player. Now listen, every industry's got idiots. Every single industry in the country, in the world, has got idiots working inside the industry. And I don't know who these cops were, but I'm going to go on record and say these are idiots in the industry of the police force. They have to be idiots. This guy plays in the NFL. You see what he's driving. There's a game going on like in how many hours? How do you not know he's on the team? It's like, just let him go, man. What are you doing?
I mean, I completely agree. And how about that tint on Tyreek's whip too? Hey, that's not stock.
No,
that ain't stock.
No.
I mean, he could probably be getting a ticket for that too. I don't even know if he could see outside that goddamn windshield. I mean, he might have to drive with his head outside the window to even see the road, because that tint, as Mike Jones would say in Still Tipping, was 5% tint, so you can't see up in that window. That might have been 3. That might have been stock 3%. That was maybe even 2%, like milk. Like that was nails. So, but just so sick how, I mean, the guy's chin is literally on the pavement, and then 4 hours later, I mean, he takes a Sudafed, he gets a protein shake in him, he gets a little Flexol on those legs, and then takes one 80 yards to the house, and then hits the Akon locked up, Selly. I mean, that was so sick, bro. Like, it's just, you can't write that script any better.
No. You knew he was once you saw that, you knew he was getting a touchdown too.
Oh, yeah.
You knew he was bringing out. It was an automatic. I was stupid for not putting the house on that to happen, because you just knew it would happen. I mean, and you knew he'd go behind the back with his arms like he's in cuffs once he scores that touchdown too. I mean, it's just it's a story that writes itself.
Free reek, baby. Free reek. That was so sick. Yeah, just a story like ending, just a storybook like ending, just painting his twinkle toes all over that felt at the Miami Stadium, going 80 yards. I mean, he was running all over the place. He was running like they were still chasing him, baby. That was nasty. So shout out to Tyreek Hill. He is a confirmed dog. Ozzo, one guy I want to get into and just get your take on this. Something that kind of I saw waking up early on Sunday. I was like, oh no, not as a rookie, like not as my quarterback. No, I mean, I look at the Bears like a redheaded stepchild to begin with, and when I see their quarterback, who they just drafted, have his nails painted, I mean, there's one athlete in the world, I think, that could paint their nails and win championships, and that's Dennis Rodman. Okay,
I was just gonna say that.
But in a gladiator sport like hockey or football, and especially if you're my quarterback and you're a rookie, man, don't paint your nails. Like, come on. That, to me, that shows weakness. Mm-hmm. I know it's 2024. Be who you want to be, baby. Wear the nail paint Monday through Saturday. But on the gridiron, if I see that and I'm one of his receivers or teammates, I'm like, fella, you haven't proven shit in this league, and you're painting them like it's USC. Like, fuck off.
Yeah, that's the way I feel about it. If Caleb Williams is established and he's a bigwig in the league and everyone's scared of him, go ahead and paint your nails. That's nails. But if you're gonna throw 25 passes and throw for 95 yards and a pick or something, no touchdowns, you basically play the worst game out of the entire league for quarterback play. Then you're bringing a lot of attention to yourself, and it ain't good. You need to wait until you have that status. Like Joe Burrow, he's established. He dyes the hair blonde. Everyone's like, sick, whatever. It's Joe Burrow.
Yep.
No one knows who Caleb Williams is. Yeah, you were good in college. Do you know how many good college quarterbacks didn't pan out in the NFL?
Yep.
A fucking lot of them, Caleb. So you better get yourself established before you start making headlines for painting nails.
I just didn't love the look. I know you want to come out hot. I know you want to come out of the Kevin Gates real hot, make a statement, but I just think maybe not week one. No, maybe if you're ripping it up mid-season and now you're that dude, you're in that top 3, top 4 contention for quarterbacks, okay, or maybe a couple of years in. Now, I even still think that the hair and the nail paint is 2 different things. I like earrings. I like chains. I like nasty fits. I like accessories. I just think when you start getting a little, I don't know, like, just the nail paint for me, Azo, would kind of drive me crazy. But you know what? It is what it is. If you're going to go full Robin, well, you better be able to back it up. Speaking of a guy that just got back in the lineup, Aaron Rodgers, Aaron Ayahuasca Retreat Rodgers. Azo threw his first touchdown pass in 610 days. I'm a Rodgers guy. I grew up a cheesehead, was devastated when he left, but he comes back from that Achilles injury. He looked okay on Monday night. The Jets, they do have high hopes this year. Rodgers, obviously, in those 610 days, I want to say he probably funneled north of at least 30 grams of ayahuasca. I don't know the scalage on that, but he probably got at least 10 days with ayahuasca in that, maybe even 20. So coming out of the dark room, coming back from just rehab in general for that Achilles. He looked all right on Monday night. They didn't win that game, but it's just good to see number 8 back there, slinging that thing, rocking that old school chin strap like he does. Learned that from Favre, obviously. But, high hopes for the kid out of Northern California, where he made his return.
He's still got it, Jordo. He's still got it. I'm a big A-Raj. I'm a big AR-12 guy. I actually have been on record saying he's the most talented quarterback in the history of the NFL. I think he is. Maybe Patrick Mahomes is with him, but like A-Raj, his talent level compared to even TB12, it ain't even close.
No.
So I loved seeing A-Raj out there. I didn't like that the NFL planned A-Raj's return to be in San Francisco, like one of the hardest places to play, one of the best teams in the league. Give him a little layup. I want to see a week 1 win out of A-Raj. Give him a little steam coming into week 2. That game would have been hard for any team in the league to win, let alone the New York Jets.
I 100% agree. Give him a layup. Give him, that throwaway game up in Rochester, as Herb Brooks would say. Give him that Appalachian State like warm up. Give him a MAC team. Like, I don't know. You don't have to start him off with San Fran, one of the arguably the best teams in the league. Give him a layup. Even let him play the New York Football Giants and get that hype going that way at MetLife, where you got a crosstown rival. He probably wins that game. So I agree with you on that. Azo, last little bit on the NFL. I don't know if you had anything else to chime in with, but Taylor Swift is still at the helm, the Darren helm of the league. Obviously, this is a ploy, a marketing ploy to get her involved. She is obviously dating Travis Kelce, number 87 of the KC Chiefs, but saw her week 1 on Thursday, that game. Saw her again, some game film, having a couple honey deuces. I don't know if those are non-alcoholic or she actually hits the piss, but she was at Center Wood over at Arthur Ashe on Sunday, taking in the men's final. Obviously, Jakob Sinner got it done there. So, I wanted to say, I want to go on the record and say, I think I had her, I tweeted out, I had her at a 5. I think she's a 3. Travis Kelce, Azo, at the end of the day, all I'm going to say is, when you take the laundry off, you take the gitch off, it doesn't matter how much you're worth. You still got to whack that, sleep with that, and maybe she's a really good person. And I'm not saying she's ugly here, folks. I'm just saying Travis Kelce, and you've seen his lineup, what he could get to. I'm just going a different route. I don't care about I'll trade in a little fame for a back patio, or maybe a set up top, or maybe even just a better face. I hate when she wears that red lipstick. I'm just not a Taylor Swift guy. And at the end of the day, if you're Travis Kelce and you have to shed the laundry at night, listen, I'm going a different option now. Maybe he likes her and she thinks she's really cool. That's probably not the case, honestly. I mean, but who am I to say that? I'm just an asshole sitting here chirping Taylor Swift. So that's kind of really all I got on my T Swift rant, but I'm just not a fan, and I'm going to say she's a 3. And, You know what? That doesn't mean anything to anyone, but I'm just going to say
no. Yeah. Yeah. No, it's funny. It's just funny when you see like his his ex-girlfriends, they all look the exact same. They all have BBLs. They all, they got that milk chocolate skin, a little mixed skin action and a fake set. I mean, all of them. They all look the same. And Taylor does not look like that. Now, it would be one thing, if your ex-girlfriends looked like that and you had a type, okay, that's your type. Everyone's got a different type. I understand. I've got my own type, whatever. But it doesn't seem like that's Kelce's type. So maybe his type is billionaires because she's a billionaire. Yeah. And that's everyone's type. So
maybe her pickup line to Kelce was, "Do you like billionaires?" He's like, "Yeah, good. That's what I thought." And that's just kind of how we hooked her.
That's what got him.
I mean, she is fucking. It's Taylor Swift. She's powerful as hell. Her music sucks, but people like it. Her concerts are insane. So when I see from game film, and at the end of the day, she is Taylor Swift. I'm just saying, if you're Travis Kelce, and if I'm Travis Kelce, which folks, I know I'm not, but I'm trading in a little bit of fame for a hotter chick because I don't care about Taylor Swift. Now, if that is someone else at that same stardom level, well, fuck, sign me up. Hell yeah. I mean, if I'm Travis Kelce right now, I am completely gassing T Swift. You know who I'm calling? I'm calling J-Lo. And I don't give a shit if she's 55. Because give me that. Give me that. Yeah. Hey, slide over, A-Rod. You ain't getting this back. Okay. I know you're hanging out with her again, but I'm in here like swimwear. So all I got on there. Azo, speaking of whacking, our guy, the guy we gave the quote of the year to over here, Unc, a.k.a. Shannon Sharpe, came out today just about 20 minutes ago. We're recording here at 2:59 Pacific Standard. Unc got caught whacking on IG Live. He had his Instagram up. He left it up on live, and you know what? He was fornicating with a woman at the time. Now, there were sound bites of that. Obviously, you probably know. You can paint the picture in your head what was going on, but deny till you die. And Unc said, you know what? I got hacked. It wasn't me. Unc, that is a great ploy, but at the end of the day, that came off of your phone, and you were with a chick, and the amount you talk about whacking chicks, obviously that's you, brother. I say you just take the high road and just admit it. I would like you even more. Yeah, fuck, shit.
He's went single, live. Isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, own up to it. Who cares? I don't think anyone cares. It's ESPN. He's already said some. Obviously, ESPN doesn't care. He's saying whatever he wants on Club Shay Shay. So it's like,
right.
You might as well just own up to it.
100%. I think, all press is good press. Now your name's swirling around. Now everyone knows that you're actually getting it done, having some sex. Now the ladies start getting, hey, Unc, yeah, okay, wait, what's he doing later? So all press is good press at the end of the day. Just own up to it, baby. Club Shay Shay. I wonder if they'll discuss that during their next nightcap because I can't wait to listen to that. But Azo, 100%. Let's slide over to one hitters, my friend. In light of Happy Gilmore 2 in the works, that is the rumor. It seems like Adam Sandler is kind of on tour doing his stops as people do before movies come out. He's been on a ton of shows. He was on the Manning cast. He's done Joe Rogan. It seems like as though this is going in that direction. So I want to ask you your top 5 Adam Sandler movies.
It's so hard to put them in order because he's got some ones. I'm gonna go Happy Gilmore number 1.
Yep,
for sure.
So you got Happy at 1.
I got Happy at 1. I'm gonna go Billy Madison at 2. Mr. Deeds at 3.
It's a sneaky 3. Deeds is a great flick.
I love Deedsy.
You got.
Which one am I not thinking of?
You got Big Daddy, Longest Yard.
Big Daddy.
Okay, you got
that's
Big
what I was
Daddy.
thinking of. Throwing the sticks down at the rollerbladers. Yeah. Hilarious.
Go by the seesaw, smoke a J.
Oh, unbelievable one-liners in that movie.
Yes.
Some people might not think it's funny, but that's all time.
Then you got like a Longest Yard. You got Waterboy.
Yep. I'm actually going to go.
Grown Ups.
I actually liked. For some reason, I like It's between Waterboy. Waterboy's honorable mention. I'm gonna go Funny People with Seth Rogen, where he kind of lives his life as a comedian, and
Yeah, I like
I
that.
don't
It's
know.
off
I
the
like that
board.
movie. Yeah, off the board. People wouldn't think about it. I don't know if it's too popular, but I enjoyed watching that. It's kind of like the life of what actual comedians live. They're kind of, some of them are depressed. Even though and that's why they're funny.
100%. Yeah, you're right. And there's so many good ones in there too, like Anger Management, 51st Dates,
Anger Management's that's all time too.
Chuck and
Waterboy's class. Chuck and Larry.
Chuck and Larry.
I mean, Grown Ups is a good movie too. I wouldn't even think about that one.
And then you got a movie like That's My Boy and Donnie Burger, and we all know a dad like that who's just fuck 3 ways a Tuesday.
Yeah.
That is a classic. That's a good one. Anger Management's good. Zohan, sneaky good too.
Kind of good. Uncut Gems is a decent, he's serious movie.
The Wedding Singer I really like.
The Wedding Singer's all time. Yep. Good call.
I agree with your list. I myself would have Big Daddy probably a little higher, and for whatever reason, Longest Yard and that cast will always be top 5.
So good.
I mean, Paul Crew, you got Michael Irvin, you got Nelly as Earl Maggot. I mean, just the
Chris Rock,
Dan Patrick.
Yep.
Like, there's just all sorts of characters. Cheeseburger Eddie.
Those guards are hilarious too.
Brucey, Brucey's all time. I mean, those. And the best thing about his movies too, and he was talking about it on Rogan, is he just always has the same cast of characters.
Yeah.
Like, he gives all of his buddies jobs. You know who is actually a hilarious character in Longest Yard is Tracy Morgan as the gay cheerleader.
Oh.
That Brucey ends up tucking.
Whatever back freckle.
Yeah, whatever back freckles. And then he takes the screws to her in the laundry room, and they show it in the film room when they're going over the film of the guards when they're about to play him. He's like, roll that tape. And the caretaker rolls it, and it's Brucey tucking Tracy Morgan, showing her a wrestling move. That's all. Showing her a wrestling move. That's all. Ah, yeah, really funny.
Oh, it's so good.
So yeah, that movie to me is an all-time classic. Dan Patrick too, just how the movie starts. Crew gets pulled over drunk driving, and he starts making fun of his cop partner that has the big ears and he's short. Santa Claus, what's he like?
What do you get satellite radio on those things?
Does he get XM radio with those things? He goes, yeah, gets a few channels. And the guy's like, what the fuck? He's like, it's Paul Crew. And then he takes off on him. So, oh man. That is an all-timer. But yeah, I like your list. I mean, you can't go wrong. So
yeah, you can't.
Ozzo, let's slide over to People's Insider Term of the Week. This one is an all-time classic, and I heard it. I don't even know where. I don't know if it was from an older veteran or a coach, but I heard it my rookie year, and I think it was either in St. Louis or in Chicago in the minors. And the quote goes like this. We were talking about how guys, with their entry-level contracts, they always buy stupid things, whether it's too expensive of a Mercedes, they back home in Minnesota, Alberta, somewhere on the lakes, they buy a boat, or guys that, maybe making a couple $1,000,000, but they're flying private. Why are you flying private? You don't have that much money.
Mm-hmm.
And the one quote that a veteran came in and stepped in and told us was, if it floats, flies, or fucks, rent it. Now, I agree with the first two. The third one, if you meet your wife and she's a nice gal and she's the one, well, maybe don't rent that. Maybe lease it or maybe buy it. But the quote was, if it floats, flies, or fucks, rent it. And it kind of sparked a little something in my head. I'm like, well, fuck yeah. Like, no matter how much money you got, well, I mean, a boat, that's usually, okay, a boat if you got the dough, but usually, Ozzo, as a boat ain't a great investment.
No.
Certainly a PJ ain't a great investment, or even flying private. And, most gals, especially if it's just a one-nighter, maybe rent that too. Now, again,
yeah.
Right? Like,
I'd say most.
But there are the special ones. We're not dogging the ladies. Mm-hmm. It just comes back to a quote that is a tale as old as time. If it floats, flies, or fucks, those are the 3 Fs. Rent it. So that one would always give me a chuckle, and it's something that kind of sticks to me to this day for right, wrong, or in between. So that is the People's Insider Term of the Week. Ozzo, gonna go quickly over to the sheet. In terms of the National Hockey League, we had Troy Stecher pop on the pod today, and he will be discussing camp coming up. Obviously, the informal skates have started. Seems like every year guys get to camp earlier. You got the video coach taking video of a skate on a Tuesday when you're a little hung after a night at the Cactus Club, and all of a sudden the coaches are slot you in before camp even starts. But Nikolai Kuhlman, a guy that hasn't played the National Hockey League, a 38-year-old out of Russia, for like 7 or 8 years, got a PTO in Ottawa. So my question to you is, and I've been skating with the guy a little bit down here in AZ, is how can Phil Kessel not get a PTO? Like, this is insane.
What do they have against him? Like, I saw Biz tweet out, I got a PTO. Like, how do you not invite this guy to camp and just see what he's got? Who does it harm? Who's losing that spot? I'll tell you who's losing that spot. A third line East Coast player is losing that spot at camp.
Yeah.
Who the fuck cares?
And Phil Kessel is still a guy that can contribute to your second power play on a third line, play left, right wing, and still skate at a great level for how, quote unquote, old or out of shape he is, which he's not either of the two. Also, the guy's won 3 mugs. Why wouldn't you bring him in to Chicago? They brought Patty Maroon in. They brought Nick Foligno in. They had Corey Perry there. You want to surround Bedard around a bunch of good veterans? Well, how about guys that like Patty Maroon, who we've had on, who's won 3 cups? Phil's won 3 cups too. The guy played over 1,000 games straight. Like, what do they have against them? The vendetta seems real. It seems like it's just a very political like stance these teams have against this guy, and it's fucking bullshit. What harm does a PTO to Phil Kessel do just to see what he can do?
I think the teams are scared all the boys will love him and be pissed when they cut him, so they'll feel like they have to have him on the team, and for some reason they don't want him on the team. I don't know. There's got to be some type of reason why he hasn't gotten a PTO right now.
Yeah, but the thing is why don't teams do their homework? That they just go off of what they like. People will be like, "Oh yeah, you filled the cup up with hot dogs." Yeah, that was a joke. Yeah, he has a little bit of a barrel. Okay, he's played 1,300 games. He scored almost 400 goals. He has 1,000 points. He's won 3 times. Why? What is the harm versus bringing in some dipshit that's 22 years old on an AHL contract that has no business sniffing the league versus a guy like Phil Kessel who could actually help your team and win now? It's just, to me, I mean, life ain't fair, but it just seems unfair to me.
It is. It's weird. I would love to just sit down with all the GMs and just see how much of them have actually looked, or if they're all just going off the old boys club. Just one guy just doesn't like Phil or something, and they're all like, "Oh yeah, he must be terrible."
Yeah, it seems weird to me, and even just chatting with Phil, it is a mystery. Speaking of one thing that's not a mystery, Azo, Sidney Crosby at NHL Media Day the other day in Vegas. They're getting their picture snapped around, getting ready for, I don't even know what it is, his 19th year in the league, 20th year in the league. And he has no plans to retire. He wants to play until the wheels come off or they are taken from him, to quote the man himself. And the way he keeps his body and how detail-oriented he is, and if he can stay healthy, especially with his head, is it safe to say that Crosby might be the next Gordie Howe? Can he play until he's 45? Again, if he's healthy and the way he's going, because last season, to me, he was still a top 3 center in the National Hockey League.
For sure. I think without a doubt, you can find he can be useful to the team. I mean, how old did Yager play in the NHL? How old was he? I mean,
he's 42, but Sid, maybe
you think Sid could surpass that?
I think if he wanted to. I mean, you look at a guy like Corey Perry still playing at 40 years old. You look at some of these older guys, and the way that the league is not as physical anymore, and the way he can skate, Oz. I mean, the guy almost had 100 points last year. Like he's
going to have 100 points this year.
Yeah, it's just like there's no signs of him slowing down. It's not like he's like a Geno Malkin where you can notice that he's slowing down, or an OV. You can notice he's slowing down. This guy seems to be at another different level. He's just one of those freaks, man. He's, to me, and I think the same for you, he's a Mount Rushmore of the game. Like he's a top 5, top 4 player ever to do it. He's the longevity and just his overall demeanor. It's fucking insane. It
is. Cool dude. I hope he never retires.
Yeah, I think like even if a guy like Chelios can play to 45 or whatever it is, I think Sid easily could do that. I think he's still got 3, 4, 5 good years of hockey. So Azo, that was all I had in terms of on the National League side of things. Obviously, not a ton to talk about with that as the boys are gearing up for camp here. But I think we send it over to Troy Stecher now. Talked to Stechy for about an hour. Good snap with him. So I think the folks, especially the Edmonton folks, the North Dakota folks, will really like this one. Stechy, it's always good to see him and see his chin. We missed him on the golf trip this year, obviously, because his boys are still in the playoffs and competing for a Stanley Cup, if you've heard of it. But Azo, that was episode 55 pre-show. As always, tape to tape, crispy rice, D to D with you, bro. We'll see your chin next week. Folks, that was Live in 5. Woo! All righty, folks. Up next, Troy Stecher. We got a little bit of a nice little intro for him. Here it is. The Penticton V's put him on the map. The flip cup tables at Nodak taught him how to scrap. Half Windsor, full Windsor, Johnny 3-piece suit. Number 51 is always tickling the fashion flute. A pit bull on the sheet full of vinegar and piss. No matter the job at hand, he'll always get it done nose first despite the risk. Entering his 9th year in the league, the Oil are chasing that shiny silver mug with no fatigue. Chin tucked, 4,500 bucket on, style so spicy, we call it Szechuan. Folks, we had Stechy on at our inaugural show at Hooters in West Phoenix a year ago. So let's reintroduce this man's with a nice hello. Troy Stecher, what up, baby? Stechy kid fella.
Good, man. That was unreal.
No, thank you. Thanks for joining the boys over here at Live in 5. Obviously, I mentioned it right there in the wrap. You, Stechy, you came on our first show, the inaugural. You remember that? You were still playing with the Desert Dogs at the time, and it was at Hooters in the absolute hood there in West Phoenix. You popped by, came on, but we got a little kickoff for NFL Week 1 last year, and you were kind enough to stop by. So, fella, thanks for joining the boys again. And I wasn't worried about getting shot in there, but you definitely had to keep your chin tucked because the clientele in there wasn't perfect.
Yeah, it's always good to support you guys. You guys are legends, so I wouldn't have missed it for the world.
Hey, that was a good crowd, though. You know, those people were loyal to that Hooters specifically. It was their go-to spot. I don't know what kind of person has Hooters as their go-to like weekday spot, but they did, and they showed out for us. They loved us.
Yeah, so that was actually, do you remember like at the end of that show too, we had some technical difficulties. We were kind of battling through things all day long. I mean, we had no idea what the hell we were getting into in terms of setting up basically our own live show. And we were at Moxie's and at like Boondocks the night before until like 3 a.m. We just thought we'd just wake up at 7 a.m. and go like make one stop at a Guitar Center, get a couple cables, and that was it. And we were sweating it out all day. We had this live show that probably got pushed back 4 or 5 hours. And the people in there that actually gutted it out, they weren't there for us technically, but a lot of them ended up staying, and they kind of gave us a round of applause after that. A little cap tip, fella.
Oh, yeah. I think they liked that who's your favorite white wide receiver in the NFL segment.
Stechy, just getting into you, man. Obviously, you're back in Edmonton right now. I call it Edmonton, Alberta. And you're back there. You signed a 2-year deal in the offseason going back there. But how has it been back up there? Obviously, you just got there. Skates are getting going. Anytime you go into the NHL season, especially right around this time, yeah, it's before camp, fella, but it feels like camp, right? It just feels like, let's just get this thing going. Let's get into the season and, get my, everything kind of just straightened out. You don't got, 4 guys into a dry stall. There's less bodies during the year. Like right now, it's a good time, but it's also like you kind of feel like you just want to get it going, no?
Yeah, for sure. Especially in my situation, I've spent the past 5 of the 6 weeks here still recovering from my ankle surgery. So it's just nice seeing some familiar faces, having the boys back in town. But yeah, you call them informal skates, but you kind of read into it a little bit, like lines are kind of set already, and it's coming from the staff, and it's just good to be back on the ice.
You're looking in the corner of the stand. You're like, why is the video guy up there? Like, why is he got the camera rolling right now? Is that an iPad I see? What's going on? Stanny Bowman, you're already here, fella. We're doing Canada Cup. Are you really looking if I can make a backhand pass? I got that.
Oh, yeah,
so that's always a funny time of the year, and especially, there's not so much anxiety for the veterans and guys like you, Stech. You're going to come in and and be on the squad. But, you get in and bubble guys, younger guys, it's always like, you're kind of even gripping it tight at this time of year, even though camp hasn't even started. But Stech, how you feeling after that ankle surgery? Obviously, we were bummed, hopefully, getting to watch you, especially on the golf trip in Nashville there when the cup was still going on, but you ultimately had to have surgery. And how's that feeling, fella? Are you all good?
Yeah, we're good now. I think I got medicals on Wednesday, so I'm hopefully be completely cleared. But it's been a tough offseason, honestly. Like my ankle got infected, so training hasn't been up to where I'm used to in a typical offseason. But at the same time, I'm going into year 9. I kind of know what it needs to be done on an individual level. So kind of sacrificed the summer, packed up the bags, got here to Edmonton over a month ago, and just been training with their staff and trying to be as ready as I can be. And obviously, there's a big opportunity this year on our back end and for our group. So, excited for the season.
Yeah. Do you remember that text I sent you during the golf trip? I think you guys were down 3 Cobb, and I was just half cocked in Nashville sitting there. I'm like, Stechy, if you guys lose this one tonight, are you going to be able to make, the final push of the next 2 days of the golf trip? And your response was so good. It was like, hey, we still have 97 and we have 29 on our team. And this thing's, I think, to quote you, I'm not trying to pull up the text now, but I think you said something along the lines of, this is far from over. And sure as shit it was. And that's something I just thought really stuck with me. Not only, you weren't able to play those games, but you knew what that team had and how special of a group was. And obviously you're going to lead that charge into this season. But just going back to that text, I thought it was so funny. Like, you just being around those guys and those leaders in that team, like, you guys had an unbelievable team, and you're able to build off that this year, no?
Yeah, you kind of just said it. Like, obviously, like I wasn't playing and I had surgery and missed the entire playoffs, but kind of a unique situation too, getting traded there. But I really had like the best seat in the house. Like, I was in all the meetings. I was there every single day watching them on the ice, practice games. And in my opinion, like, it easily could have been 2-1 us after game 3, and we find ourselves down 3-0. So it didn't feel like we were out of it. And of course we weren't. And it was unfortunate we couldn't find a way to win game 7. And even at that point, like, they scored and we scored right away. And once we like countered, I was like, oh my God, like, it almost seemed like we were going to win, and it was destiny. And we obviously fell short by a goal, but it was just a cool experience being able to rub shoulders with those guys, build relationships. And then obviously they decided to bring me back for 2 years. So really excited for an opportunity to help contribute and be healthy.
Yeah. Stech, obviously every NHL team starting the season wants to win the cup, and that's the goal. But what I would say is, looking at the teams you've started out on, I would say winning the cup isn't as realistic as it is this year for you. And being on this team, is there anything different with this team in training camp? Like, are you guys like, okay, there's not as much, it's not important for us to start out hot because we know what we have and we know our goal is to win the Stanley Cup, versus when you're on another team and maybe you're not, your hopes aren't really the Stanley Cup. It's just to have a good start. Like, is there anything different there? Is it just more of the same? You're all these hockey players trying to win games.
I think it's pretty much the same. Like, it's just like a bunch of guys that are focused on one common task, and just understanding that, we did it last year. So there's going to be expectations, but when you got 2 of the best players in the world kind of leading the charge, it's pretty easy to follow suit. And like, Connor and Leon do a heck of a job the way they prepare on a daily basis, and you really don't have a choice of being their teammate. Not that anybody wants a choice. You all want to like buy in, and you all want to be committed to helping, move the ship in the right direction. But when you have like those 2 players leading the charge, it's pretty easy to hop on their backs and do what you can to help them.
Stechy, I wanted to ask, you obviously made some key additions to the team this year. You're bringing in a guy like Sticky, Vicky, Arvidsson. You got Jeff Skinner, the former figure skater, doing his mohawk turns around the sheet. But if there's one player on that roster that you didn't play with before, or maybe you played against a long time, but you didn't necessarily know how good they were, I call it sneaky good. Like, is there one player on that roster that's very versatile, maybe a Swiss Army knife for you guys, that you're in practice or a morning skate, and you're like, fuck, I know you had a set of mitts like that fella, or maybe just something they do in terms of their craftiness? Is there one guy on the squad, that's kind of like that player?
Yeah, that's an easy question. It's Matthias Ekholm. This guy is unbelievable, man. Like, he's so under the radar, and he is so good. I always knew he was a good player, but I think he was always kind of behind, like, at the time, Weber and then Suter when they were in Nashville. I think he was there when he was younger, and then obviously Yossi, like kind of winning to Norris and putting up all the points he does, but he's always a good player and I had respect for him. But now being on his team and seeing him firsthand, I'm like, holy smokes, this guy, he can ball out. So he's super impressive, and I don't think he gets the credit he deserves.
Yeah, the big Viking. He's a hell of a player. I used to see him a little bit, in St. Louis, especially the games. I'd be in the stands. I'd be watching him. It's just, he's so good, really poised. His composure is unbelievable. I really liked his game, and he's one of those guys that seems like he's really embodied living in Edmonton. I've seen a couple of quotes before. His wife really likes it. It kind of reminds of northern Sweden, and he's really become one with that team and that city. And obviously, he's a horse on the back end for you guys. But I wanted to ask you about one guy on your blue line, and I'm, a right shot or a former right shot defenseman. Stechy, you are too. And just watching like Bouchard back there, especially just quarterback the power play. Is there anything you're looking at his game? You're like, does he remind you of someone else in the league? Is he a better version of, this is not to say with disrespect, but is he a better version of what you had maybe in the past with that team and Tyson Barrie? Or what's his game like? Because he seems so calm with the pill back there, man. He's got patience of a nun.
Yeah, he's good. And like, I think a lot of people discredit him for, being on the power play, being like, oh, it's easy when you have Connor and like Leon and Nuge, Hyman in front of the net. But like, he does a lot of the good stuff out there, like on the peeps. Like, he always making the right decision. He's got an absolute bomb. Super impressive to be on his team and watch him do what he does. But yeah, he's incredible. Interesting fella. A little bit of a goalie in him.
Does he? I like that.
I do think that like Eki, him and playing together 5-on-5s really helped him, and like he's still pretty young, man. Like he's gonna get better as he grows up here. So super impressive and excited to see what he can do this year.
Yeah, when he gets walking downhill and he has that clapper just tickling the ceiling, especially on a 1T, or even just, when he opens it up and just kind of winds it up, it's heavy. It's like, I don't know what he's clocking in at. I don't know if he's ever, got the gun out there. I know the Canadian teams usually do like a skills competition, but yeah, that thing is coming in like a Chapman-like speed on the mound. But Stechy, one thing I wanted to touch on with you is the TS51 Foundation. I believe that's what it's called. You obviously do a camp. I believe you link it up with Kevin Bieksa as well in terms of maybe, supporting each other that way. Just touch on that a little bit in terms of the foundation and how that week in Van City was, because I saw a little bit of the game film out of there. Number one, you got a couple sick pics you posted on Insta. I was like, fuck, Stechy's style still looking good. He's got the laces coming down out of the pants. He's got the 4,500 bucket on, the flop on the laces. It's good tape, always a fresh white on the blade. It was looking good. It's looking crispy rice there, Stechy.
Thanks. No, it's good. I lost my dad in 2020, obviously, as you guys know, and always kind of want to do something in honor of him. And I love golf tournaments. I'm a big golfer myself, but I just felt like I wanted to do something different than just a standard charity golf tournament. And Kevin and I, we used to train together near the tail end of his career with the same skating coach in Vancouver, Derek Pocky. And Pops kind of approached me about this idea of doing a pro camp in partnership with his hockey school camp for younger kids. And I guess we kind of stole the idea from the BioSteel camp. Like, there's so many NHL players up in BC in the offseason that it almost seems like there's 3-4 guys that skate in their own little groups, and there's about 7 different groups. So it's like, let's just grab everybody together for 1 week. Let's get ready to go. Typically, guys are going to leave first week of September for camp. So it's kind of like on your way out. And we've had a lot of success. This was our second year doing it. This year on the Friday, I decided to surprise the younger kids. There's like age group from like 5 to 10-year-olds, and I skated with them for a couple hours and scrimmaged with them. And obviously, Kevin came up from Newport and donated his time, and he works with the Canadian Men's Health Foundation, and we just decided to do a partnership this year. So it's a really big success, and something that means a lot to me, and it's something I think my dad would be really proud of, is putting in the work and giving back, and something my dad loved was being at the rink. So I think that's it's a good way to pay tribute to him.
For sure. Stechy, from your, obviously it's 9 years you've been playing professional. It's been a long time. I mean, it doesn't feel like that long, but so when you came into the league and you're playing hockey now, when you're a hockey player, professional hockey player at that, you got a lot of time on your hands outside of the rink. From the first year you're in the league till now, is there anything different outside of the rink, your off ice routine? Have you done anything different? Are you still just chilling, taking the dogs on walks, going golfing? Is there anything different there? Year 9 from year 1?
Probably a little bit. I think it's like just individual, like performance wise, of taking care of your body. Go to sleep probably at a bit better of an hour than I used to. Used to be a little bit of a night hawk, still kind of am, but still get more sleep. Other than that, just taking the dogs out, kind of doing the same stuff.
Still chilling, just hanging out.
I mean, you guys are the same too. Like in college, just chilling with the fellas. And probably do that on FaceTime with my boys back home.
No, it's good to hear you haven't changed,
Yeah, I mean, you got to believe in who you are and
throw a fat lipper in, hit the couch, maybe get on the sticks, play a little, I don't know, Fortnite or whatever you got, Call of Duty, get a little lip snack in there, fella.
Yeah, it's nice having football background. I'll tell you that for free.
Yeah. You make a good point though, Ozzo. It's like you do evolve, but at the same time, man, you get that workout in, you get that skate in, and then maybe in the summer, if you have enough energy to go play golf or tennis or something like that, by the time 3-4 o'clock rolls around, you just want to get the pedals up, 100%. I just shot 81, baby. I deserve it. I'm going to get on the couch here. I'm going to chill out, check the Chase Bank app, make sure I'm still good that way. It looks pretty good, fellas. So we're doing okay. And then make some dinner, and that's a night, nothing better. There's nothing
I didn't know if he started working on his cooking skills, like some guys get into that stuff, we were just talking to, Spicy Tuna, and he's mixing up the tunes a little bit. So I don't know if Stech picked up on something like that or not.
Nah, I don't got any pastimes like that. I might cook dinner here and there for the lady and I, but haven't really dived into it too much, man. Just kind of toss the dogs up and recover and get ready for the next day.
Yeah, we had Spicy Tuna on 2 weeks ago, and he was telling us, well, not only was he mixing it up on the DJ board, but he also had the heavy bag going in the living room because he was working on his chin and his left and his right. So maybe that's something you got to add just in case, you get the old tie down on and just start.
Yeah, Stechy, I'd stay away from that guy if I were you.
I played with him for 2 years, so I know what to expect. I'll stay away.
Yeah, he's a beauty. So, Stechy, I wanted to ask you though, like just getting into the off season. Obviously, I think you spend a little bit of time, kind of in and around different areas, different pockets. Obviously, being home, playing golf and being in BC, but you always seem to make your way up to Whistler. And I guess this is a 2-part question. Did you get up there this year and play those tracks up there? And what was the best track you played all offseason? And could you play golf, I guess, with your ankle maybe a little bit later, I guess? I don't know.
Yeah, tough summer. I mean, what was it, 2 summers ago? I think I played 91 rounds. So work out, skate, and then just go to the course. And definitely helps not having kids yet at this age. So kind of had that freedom. But this year, obviously, coming off ankle surgery, I only played 4 rounds this summer, and they were all before July 6th. One of my best buddies got married up in Pemberton, which is like 20 minutes north of Whistler. So we played the day before his wedding at Big Sky, which is my favorite local track in BC. And after that, I started training again, and my ankle got reinfected, so I had to shut her down. So I only got 4 rounds in, which was killing me. Yeah, but it is what it is. You got to understand, like, this is our profession, and you got to kind of sacrifice things if you want to be successful. And understand I'm coming back to Edmonton, kind of looking at the bigger picture. I just kind of threw the clubs in the garage and let them sit there.
Yeah, that's almost one of those situations where you just got the old putting board kind of out in the living room. You're just rolling the stick a little bit just to feel something, just give me a little sort of tingle in there because you definitely missed the game. But Stechy, I wanted to ask you, like, I got big into tennis this summer. Was that something when you're healthy? Do you play any pickleball or tennis or any of those games? Because I mean, you're like a goddamn fucking. Like,
he'd be an unbelievable.
I was gonna say, like, you're like a spider monkey out there. Like, you're a goddamn ninja on the ice. So I was curious to know, like, your lateral movement. Are you playing any pickle or tennis, or are you strictly just golf normally in the off season?
I started getting into pickle a little bit. I really want to get into tennis. Like,
so fun.
I don't want to chirp pickleball, but I think it's pretty easy and there's not that much movement, especially if you're playing doubles. But we played a bit of tennis back when we were living at 420 at North Dakota and across the parking lot there at University Ave, and I couldn't serve worth shit. So I think I'm a better net player than anything. But yeah, I definitely want to get into tennis. I've got the itch. But other than that, usually just a passionate golfer.
Yeah. Yeah, I
like
can definitely. Can't you see Stechy just digging it at the net? Just like guys trying to come at his head, and he's just digging it. It's like he's on the PK.
That
just
guy.
blocking it with whatever.
Oh yeah, he's the guy you hit a shot against, and you're already celebrating it because you're like, that's a point, and he'll just get it back somehow and just piss you off.
Yeah, and that kind of just reminds me, Stech. Like you came into school, obviously out of Penticton, highly skilled defenseman. You still are. Still could run a power play. You could still make a great first pass. But one thing I think that you don't get enough credit for, and I think a lot of kids listening to this should take a free game slice of what you did when you came into UND. I think you honestly kind of looked at some of the older guys. Not that any of the older guys were better than you at the time, but they were slotted in there. And as you know, at every level, unless you're that much better than a veteran, you're not going to take those power play minutes from them. You're not going to take their minutes during a game. And you were able to kind of carve out a role in a niche to whatever you had to do to get into the lineup and bring a different element. So you started hitting more, you started blocking more shots, you started playing, like I say, like a junkyard dog, a pit bull out there. And I think that's something that you've even carried into the league. And that's why you've lasted so long in the national, is because you are, if not the most competitive guy on the ice, one of the top three every night. And is that something, Stechy, that you always had coming out of junior, or is that something you kind of got to school and you kind of got wide-eyed and you're like, oh, okay, this is what I got to do to really stay in this lineup, and you realized it really quickly?
I think I've always had like a little bit of it in me, but like for sure the first time I noticed it was at North Dakota. I mean, we had you running the power play, we had Simmer on the other unit, we had Nick Matson, who was like smooth as butter. So Dewey was an older guy than I was, 2 years older, coming in as a freshman. Drafted, I was undrafted, so I kind of like felt like I had to beat him out, and just kind of at the end of the day knew I had to find a role and do something different. I kind of say that's how my career's gone in the NHL level too, just trying to find a role and find a niche and do something that stands out where the coaching staff's going to put you in the lineup. And I think going to year 9, I've probably earned the benefit of the doubt some nights up more than others, where they'll keep me in even if I have a bad night, understanding that I'm going to give my best effort. And yeah, it's all about surviving, man. Like, I don't want to do anything else. I want to play in the National League. So you kind of put your pride away and you got to do what you got to do. But at the end of the day, I do think what I add, helps teams win. It might go unnoticed at times, but being a smaller guy, I'm not afraid to take a hit. I'll try to be first on every puck if possible. And since my time in Arizona with John Madden, like, I've really taken pride in trying to like become a good PKer. I think I had some success at North Dakota when I was doing it, but that's obviously at a different level. Back when Jax had the half blades on the mock PK, and yeah, just trying to develop my game every day as I can and make sure I find a way to stay in the lineup.
Oh man, we gotta touch on Dane Jackson any chance we get. So it's all true, Stechy, and I think that's a reason why you've been so good for so long at that level, because I think you go into a D-core and you're like, okay, what does this team need? And bam, you identify it and you fill a role right from day one at camp. But just touching on Dane Jackson quick, do you remember you played with this guy in Penticton and Mark McMillan? And I think you were a freshman at the time. And it was St. Clair. It was Colton St. Clair. It wasn't McMillan, because he blocked the shot with his kneecap. So this goes back to Colton St. Clair, who is now coaching in the NA, a funny fella. But anyways, do you remember when Saint blocked that shot? I forget the game it was, but he was on the PK, and as Jax would call me, you would call him PK Warriors. And Saint goes out there and blocks a shot that like either rides up his stick or somehow hits him like right almost on the throat. And the next day, Jax is walking around. He's like, Saint's like, big fucking block. Shows it in the video clips. It's like Saint takes his puck right to the jugular, drops, and he's like, long way from the heart.
Couldn't be closer.
Dude, it's
right on the heart.
It's like 4 inches from his heart. He's like, long way from the heart.
What a god.
How good were those meetings, Stech, though? Those things are like, that's why I live to be on the PK, because Jax, at Nodak was so fucking funny.
Yeah. I mean, he still texts me like at times when remember how you'd always put an alumni as the picture on the start of the film? He'll text me like sometimes like, Stechy, you're on the film today. Like, fucking right. Let's go, Jax. And then he had the hog sheets for biggest hits after every weekend. Like,
hit of the game.
He's all time.
Remember Stechy, we used to have the Pylon Award too. And you know what? The funny thing is, boys, I got a text out of the team this year. They're bringing back the pylon this year.
Let's
for
go.
The defensive crew.
Yeah.
The defensive crew. So, folks, what the pylon is obviously it's a cone. It's a traffic cone. And it would always go to the defenseman that got walked that previous week. And then you'd write your name on it. You'd write the team and the date. And remember when Paul Dewey Cox Ledoux had it for like 5 weeks in a row, boys? These were like SC Sports Center like walks too. I mean, he was getting just roasted.
I remember he got it like 2 weeks in a row, and then we're playing that the next weekend, and he gets walked again. And I think he got scored on, and everyone on the bench was selling like,
celebrating.
Go, we got the pylon. We got scored on and we're pumped because Dewey got walked.
That was the best part about our decors. We had so many goddamn beauties back there. We get up like 5-1 or 5-2 or whatever, and then just pray a guy would get walked and then celebrate. Fucking right.
I'm glad they're bringing it back. I kind of heard they got a little soft there at Nodak, kind of eliminating Palooza, good dry island after Christmas, getting away from the pylon award. Like, I think that builds character, brings the boys closer together. So
I think that's where kids are going nowadays, Stech. Have you noticed that? Young kids coming in the league, they're just a little more I would say they haven't dealt with as much adversity, I'd say. And when I say adversity, I mean being hung and practicing.
Yeah, a little more vanilla than anything. You got to play guilty every once in a while. I'm not saying that you should do it, but
right. It's a long season out there, boys.
Teams that drink together, win together, and I think we were the epitome of that at North Dakota. So
yeah,
a lot of good nights, a lot of good times. But at the end of the day, we knew what had to be done. We showed up every single day to work, and we got the job done.
Yeah, like if you've been minus 10 in the last 5 games and you haven't had a sip in 2 months, like, fella, it's not going to hurt you here. But I wanted to ask you, Stech, like skating in Vancouver, skating around, I assume a guy like Connor Bedard. Now I'm getting texts out of Vancouver as the People's Insider from guys that are still playing, saying this guy is doing power skating for like an hour, and then all the rest of the boys show up for the normal summer skate, and they'll do like an hour and a half, and then they'll leave, and he's still fucking out there. Like, that is like what the new generation is going to. These guys not only are on the ice 5-6 days a week, they're skating for like 3 hours. Can you confirm this?
I can't confirm it, but it wouldn't shock me. I play with Connor McDavid here in Edmonton, and there's a reason why he's the best player in the world. I'll just say that. So,
yeah, Stechy, how much extra work does a guy like that and Leon do other than, because every guy in the NHL has done plenty of work for himself, but how much extra are those guys doing versus they're just born to be gods?
I mean, they're just so dialed in, like even away from the rink, just kind of their nutrition, the way they recover. Today was a perfect example. Like the entire media squad was there from TSN, Sportsnet. They're all filming our informal skate, and we go to center ice to stretch after. And the first 2 guys that get up from the stretch are Leon and Connor, and they're shooting one-timers down the one end. So they're always working on their game, they're working on their craft, and like I said, they're the best players in the world for a reason. So hearing Bedard do that in Vancouver doesn't shock me. That gross grind time came out the other day with him and Biz, and kind of blew me away. I used to do that for training when I was playing in Vancouver. And
I was going to say, what was your time, Stechy? What was your best time? 40?
I think my best time was like 38:40 or something, if I remember correctly. We did it for like an 8-week schedule every Wednesday. I'd run it with Hank and Danny, and they would blow me out of the water. But 37 minutes,
how far is that?
Shot. I think it's only like a mile actually in distance, but like the elevation change is like 5,000 feet or something. Like it's something absurd. Like it's just straight up a mountain essentially.
So you're just battling the whole way up.
It's so hard, man.
Dude, Stech, you get to that point where it says you think you're almost there, and the sign is you're a quarter of the way there. Yeah. You know the sign I'm talking about that's written on the piece of wood?
Yeah.
It says you're a quarter of the way there, and Osmo, you're literally out of breath. You can't even think. You're like, holy fuck, I've been only going for 10 minutes here? Jesus.
Fourth of the way up, 10 minutes past.
It's it's like a 45-degree incline almost the whole way up, and it's obviously not. It's like a trail. It's mud, mulch, and rock. You know who is actually unbelievable at that? Because we used to do that at a agency camp. Stechy, growing up, I'd always go up to Vancouver and work with a bunch of people, but it was Kurt Overhart's camp agent, aka Kurt Overcharge. So we go up there, and there'd be a bunch of national leaguers up there Ryan Johansson, a bunch of guys. I think Patty Weircross was the guy that always had the best time, though. You remember he was like 6'5", like
Yeah.
$180, and he would do it like under 35 minutes. I can't remember the exact time, but he would kill it. I'm pretty sure he was around like sub 32, but he was 6'5", long, and he would just like put his headphones in and just dust everyone. I remember that. Like he would be leaving like Kessler and all those guys in the dust, but that thing is no joke.
No, I think the Canucks record, if I remember correctly, was Rick Rippon actually at 32 minutes, which is like insane. But actually, when I signed with Vancouver out of North Dakota, I went to development camp that year, and we had to do it at development camp. But we did it in teams. It wasn't individual. So you had like a group of like 5-6 guys on a team, and your clock stopped when the last guy made it up the mountain. And I don't know if you guys remember, but there's like this D-man named Nikita Turampkin. He was like 6'8", 260, this Russian D-man that came over. This guy couldn't do it. Like we had 5 guys pushing him like up the mountain. Like I'm not exaggerating. Like guys like pushing his ass, trying to get him to like move. And he's just like quitting. He's like, no, like me done, no more. And it's like, get up there, bud.
Yeah, get it up there, fella.
That's so good.
Yeah,
that's always so funny too when those Russian guys come over. I mean, I'm not stereotyping here, but it always seems like it's the Russian guys in the fitness testing that just have no idea. And we've always had those guys, a couple of them in St. Louis too. It's like, what are these guys doing now? You know, they're still smoking heaters, but are they playing hockey or what's going on? Because they just had no drive to do anything off the ice.
Well, I think they get here and they're off the gas, so they lose all the motivation.
Yeah. Stech, speaking of like workouts and off-season training, I mean, I haven't played in however many years. So like, have your workouts or, practices changed at all from when we were playing college or your early years pro, or is it all more the same stuff?
I mean, obviously, like this year for me was different just with like my ankle situation. But even when I was healthy enough to like train this summer, I'm still with the same trainer since I was in grade 8.
Still doing the same workouts and lifts and stuff?
Yeah, Ian Gallagher. It's Brendan Gallagher's dad. He's my trainer. Super old school, believes in picking up a weight and putting it down. Doesn't believe kind of in the ARP or the stim or anything. He's very old school that way. We do boxing on Wednesdays. Every single day you're doing plyos, cardio plus lifting, where I feel like nowadays kind of the new generation, it's like they do phases where one day it's cardio day, another's a plyo. So just very old school, super hard. Something my fiance and I kind of argue about. I get home. You still
puking out there?
Oh yeah, every day.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're always a puker. Yeah.
2 fingers down the hatch, let it out, and get right back to it. So I've kind of learned my ways. Being in year 9 now, I don't eat breakfast. So when I puke, it's just liquid coming up. It's easy, and sometimes it tastes like Gatorade, so it's not the worst thing in the world. But yeah, just get it out and keep going.
Yeah, eating's cheating, fella. Eh? Eating's cheating. So no, essentially, I always remember that too. Even like we would do those shuttle runs at Nodak, and you were always in good shape, but for whatever reason, you had to let her buck titty and just get light, eh? Get light.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I now with like more sports science based, I know why. I have like a certain threshold of my heart rate. Once I hit like 195, I'm going to be a puker. It's just kind of the way my body is and the way it works. But yeah, it's I don't know. I've done it so many times and I'm used to it.
You had to have had like a couple coaches or trainers that thought you were out of shape because you were puking. But like, I remember you would puke, you'd finish like in the top half of the guys, but you just puke after. And it's I can see some old time coaches or trainers being like, fucking pussy. Like, what are you puking?
It's actually one of like the things I get most concerned about, especially the past 3 years. I've been traded 3 years in a row. It's going to the new team. And it's like, man, I'm going to have to explain the situation again and again and again. And at the end of the day, I just tell them like, just call the previous trainer and he's going to vouch for me. And I think that's what they do. Like the hockey world's pretty small. Guys know each other. So pick up the phone, make one phone call, ask if I'm lying or if I'm telling the truth. And
do you think they've thought you're out of shape because you're puking before?
Dude, 100%.
I don't think so. Like I don't want to like pump my own tires, but like I'm in good shape. I'm pretty muscular and like pretty thick in that regard. Like I'm not overweight by any means, but I do think they like ask questions as to like why I'm puking. But it's just something I've had to deal with. I guess my dad told me back in the day, my brother was too. He's a lot older than I am. I've never crossed paths with him in like the hockey world playing with him, but supposedly he was a puker too, so it might just be a Stecher thing.
Do you remember the strength coach? He might have been your assistant strength coach. His name was E. What was his last name, Stech? E. He was in Vancouver for a bit, and then he came to St. Louis.
He ended up going to St. Louis.
He went to St. Louis, and I remember him. I forget his name, but obviously his nickname was E. His name was Eric, and his last name started with an R.
Yeah.
And he told me, like, he's like, "You friends with Stech?" I'm like, "Yeah, he's one of my good buddies. He's a golf trip guy. He comes on. He went to North Dakota with 2 years. What's up?" He's like, "Well, I had him in Vancouver the 1 year, and he, like, we were working out in the summer, and one day he puked, but God damn it, he got up right away, did the thing, didn't say anything, came back the next day, was the first guy in the gym, and did the same thing." He's like, he was clearly our most in shape athlete, but I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's just Stechy, baby. He's just getting light."
Yeah.
So
You gotta call the oil for me and let him know. We got training camp
I
next
will.
week.
Right. Yeah. I might even have to put a anonymous call in the people's hotline over here. But Stechy, speaking of old school, you mentioned it just when you were working out with Gallagher's dad. Speaking of old school, fella, one of the things that I like about your setup or your style is you still rock the 4,500 bucket. Now, when you're getting traded around or signing in different spots, they don't make these 4,500 Bauer buckets anymore. Is this a dime a dozen? Do you have to go back in that equipment room and start digging through shit to find a 4,500? But do most teams have that in the equipment room? I was just curious. Is that something you got to, like, if I get traded from Arizona, I got to bring that white one to Edmonton because they might not have it,
I've had no issues anywhere except for Arizona.
Okay.
I feel like most organizations have like a healthy stock in the back room somewhere. And I mean, just this last week, I got a new blue one and a new white one for the oil. And I'm like, "Where'd you find these?" Like, you wouldn't believe how many we have. So I wasn't worried there. But when I went to Arizona, Stan, our equipment manager, called me. I worked there my first year. And then they traded me to Calgary and I re-signed in AZ, and he called me. He's like, "Hey, Stech, they discontinued the helmet. You got to pick a new one." And I was like, "There's no chance." And he's like, "Well, I don't know what to tell you. Like, they don't make it in maroon. You got to switch helmets." I ended up going to Cyclone Taylor Sports on Oak Street in Vancouver and bought a white, a black one, and a different colored one. And I got them to spray paint that one maroon. And I brought them with me to Arizona, and that's what I wore. And I was just like, I refuse to switch helmets. It's just like clean looking bucket, man. Like TJ Oshie and Taser when they wore it back for the Sioux back in the day, like all time.
Yeah, it looks mint, right? Like it's the old school bucket factor. Ryan O'Reilly wears it, you wear it. I mean, there's not a ton of guys in the league still rocking. I don't know if Eric Branson still rocks one in Columbus.
Yeah, he does.
Cassian was wearing one, I know, obviously, with no visor on. I'm trying to think of other 4,500 bucket wearers, but that's just like the classic look, isn't it? Just got the old school foam pads in there. Maybe not the comfiest helmet, but some guys do say it's really comfy. So I don't know.
Once you break it in, it's butter, but
it's like a cowboy boot.
It's a little stiff when you first wear it. Matthias Ekholm wears one here on the back.
Oh yeah, he looks nails, man.
So there's a few guys still rocking it. It's just I think the manager's trying to phase it out. But yeah, I don't think it's going to go anywhere. Too many guys have too much respect for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Stech, how about your pregame routine? For the listeners that don't know, at least in college, Stech had a very dialed in and thoughtful process before the game started. Your pregame routine, what you would do, you'd go sit up in that one section, tape your stick, you'd retape every stick you have for the game, I think. And then there's other things. So are you still doing that process? Has it changed at all? Have you added anything, or is it the same thing you've always been doing?
Identical, except sitting in the stands. I don't do that anymore, but everything is the same. As far as sticks, like I only retape my sticks on a game day. So after a game, like I'll just use that stick in practice with the same tape. But before the game, I'll retape all of them. Just kind of the way I work. But yeah, I don't know. At this level, man, everybody's got their own little niches that they do and their own little quirks. And at the end of the day, it's just trying to find a way to make sure that you can perform at the best of your level. And I feel like those are kind of like mental check boxes in your mind to get ready. So it hasn't changed in a long, long time.
Stechy, we had you on last year at Hooters. We actually asked you the question, but for whatever reason, the tape got lost in translation somewhere. And I don't think it actually made the radio waves or the podcast waves when we asked you this about a year ago. But you're a man of style. You're a man of a nice three-piece suit. You always looking good, half Windsor, full Windsor on the tie, maybe even a pocket square. You always have, it seems like you just got your fucking suit from the dry cleaner, how mint and just the starch of it. It just looks expensive, Stechy. So I wanted to ask you, and I know maybe a little bit of the answer, but how often are you getting those suits dialed in, and are you planning, maybe I'm going to wear this game, or okay, this is a hockey night in Canada game. Fuck, I got to be looking maybe a little more wax in the hair, maybe this tie, or is it just something because it's such a long season where it just kind of, you wake up that day, get back up from your pregame nap, you're like, all right, I'm going to throw this on and it's going to look good.
No, I put some effort into it, obviously. I take pride in what I wear. I've always kind of been into fashion. Even back in the college days, you guys used to chirp me about my cardigans and my sweaters and whatnot.
Well, yeah, you were the only guy that knew what Nordstrom was when we were all shopping at J.C. Penney, the Columbia Mall. We're like, where's Stechy pulling this from? What site
Salvation Army. Salvation Army is where I was going.
What's Hugo Boss? What is this brand? What's this guy rocking right now?
Yeah, no, I've taken some pride. I think growing up in Vancouver has obviously helped. It's kind of part of what people wear in Vancouver. Everybody seems to be good looking and into fashion, and playing there to start my career, we had a couple Swedes that really big into their fashion style, Louis Erickson, Alex Edler. So I kind of took some tips from them, and I met a fabric guy in Vancouver. He owns a store called the Tuck Store. His name's Juan. He's from South Korea, a great individual, but he hooks me up every single off season, get kind of 4 new suits, a bunch of shirts, and suits. The better quality, the longer they'll last. So I feel like I just kind of add to the collection every single year, and then I have a bunch that I'll continue to wear, and definitely kind of highlight some games in the schedule, not on a calendar, but mentally, going back to Vancouver, my hometown's a big one. Minnesota, usually there's a couple Nodak boys that will come, so I'll put something good together. The home opener, game after kind of the All-Star break, you're excited to be back with the fellas. So definitely cautious of what I'm doing.
Yeah. Well, it works, Stechy, because you do look fucking good. And Jordan and I always talk about how hockey players actually should kind of go that route more nowadays, especially if you're in the National. If you're in the National and you got some money in your pocket, you might as well look nasty walking into the rink, and you certainly do. I love the posts. I'm going to miss those Arizona Coyotes ones. You guys are always walking in, and it's just sunny out, and it looks unbelievable outside, versus walking into the rink and snow and shit. It's not the same. It doesn't hit the same.
Yeah, it's a little easier being in AZ with the good weather, and then I think just in general, it's a lot easier being on the plane than on the bus to wear a nicer suit. So
yeah.
And even in AZ too. In AZ too, you got the shades in the rotation too, eh?
So yeah.
Now I got the Gucci's coming out, and okay, I got the Louis. All right, here are the Pradas. Oh, this is a Tommy Ford. Nice to meet you. So you got the shades and the accessories. Almost means more than the actual suit. The suit's got to look
for
good,
sure.
But the shoes and the shades, and especially when you can kind of hike them up like you do, Stechy, with the pant, you show a little skin at the bottom. You're like, oh, okay, I might have 1 and 1 tonight.
Yeah. You like these socks? Oh wait, I don't have any.
Yeah, one hit, one block.
Yeah, 1 hit, 1 block. Get suckered in the face and draw a 2-minute penalty. It's a hell of a fantasy night.
Yeah. Stechy, you've played in. One of my favorite parts about hockey is the fans, especially playoffs. Canadian fans are different. You watch an American game, you watch a Canadian series, the Canadian fans are different. It's incredible. Obviously, Edmonton and Vancouver have 2 of the best fan bases. Can you notice any difference in the way, or the way they sound, or is it just more of the same? It's just crazy.
It's just chaos, man. I feel like everybody thinks they know everything when it comes to it, but at the same time, they're so supportive, and I think the biggest thing is they're more knowledgeable than the American fans. I'm not throwing a chirp. I just think it's our national sport. That's all we do on Saturday nights is you watch Hockey Night in Canada. So I definitely think there's a bit more knowledge behind it, but I feel like everybody wants to have a voice up in Canada, and it is what it is. You got to take the good with the bad, and you just kind of embrace it. But at the same time, they're the reason why you're so supported and why they're sold out every single night in any Canadian barn. You go to Winnipeg, it's sold out. Montreal sold out. Ottawa's has some challenges with their rink being a little further away, but when they were in the playoffs, man, that barn was rocking. And
Van's obviously incredible, but those Oil fans, man, they're wild rednecks up there. they.
Yeah, this past playoff run, obviously having the best seat in the house, man. Those game nights were absolutely insane, bonkers. And Swish, you were there for a game. It's insane how passionate they are, and when you have a good team, it obviously helps too. And I say this was that playoff run, being in that building, that was the best building I've been in. I think it could rival the Ralph just because it's bigger and it's a higher level, but very similar in that regard with how passionate the fans are and the atmosphere that they bring.
Man, I know when I was up there, it was game 3, and it was obviously the Stanley Cup final in Canada. But Stechy, I was blown away by how big of a religion it is. Just they live and breathe.
That's why it's so cool.
Every guy and girl at the bar knew everyone's stats, how many minutes they're expected to play, what's his face-off percentage, his kill count. They knew everything about a guy. It was crazy. And, you know, that game didn't go your guys' way. And obviously it was a cup being down 3-0, but like just the general like sadness and disappointment after a loss. And I can imagine if I would have been there the next night when you guys won, just the total opposite of the spectrum. It's like, man, it's literally like, I can't really describe it. I guess it's like Texas football almost, but hockey, and probably a little bit even crazier because you got people with war paint on. You know,
those fans can't sleep after a loss.
No,
like they're laying in bed like, God damn it! Like it's great. It's why it makes it the best. That's why it's so much fun when Canadian teams are in the playoffs because it does make it that much better.
And I mean, I even forgot how much just tradition is with that team. I mean, fucking 99, Mess, Grant Fear, Yari Curry. I mean, all these players, Paul Coffey. I mean, you got Coffey now as your defensive coach. Like that's unbelievable.
Behind the bench now. That guy is
how sick is that?
Absolute legend. He is all time.
Like
sickest curve too on the Sherwood.
Like Stechy, he's got to be such a positive influence back there, just knowing what he knows and the amount of times he's won. Like, it's got to be pretty, you know, you got to be able to feel pretty good going over the boards if he's telling you something, right?
Yeah, but at the same time, it's hard to like kind of talk to him because it's like, what the hell? This guy's done everything, you know? Like, it's insane. But going back to like Boosh from the earlier question, like I think Koff's like a big reason why he's had so much success. Just like instilling that confidence in him. But yeah, his stories and his one-liners are unbelievable, man. Like, I don't want to say he's cocky. He's just like such a confident individual, and I think that's like why he's been so successful. But
for sure,
the one story I have of him, I wasn't even there, but Sam Gagne, I guess, was like playing golf with him like last offseason or something, and he hit like this chip to like 2 feet or something, and Gage is like, nice chip, Koff, and he's like 1574, whatever, like how many career points he had. Like that was it. Like that's just the way he conducts himself. But I don't know how old Koff is, but he's in the cold tub, he's in the hot tub, he's in the sauna with all the boys. Like he's never in the coach's room. Like he's just like one of the fellas. He just loves being at the rink with the boys, preaching like what he knows and giving us little tips here and there. So I have a lot of respect for him, and how could you not with like what he's accomplished?
Yeah, that's hilarious. That's like Gretzky's line, you know, when he hits a putt or something. I've heard, you know, he'll make like a 20-footer and be like, nice putt, Gretz. And be like, you didn't have a TV when you were growing up or what? You know, it's just like those little one-liners of those legends is all time. And
Koff called me this summer and he's like, Stechy, like, how's the summer going? I'm like, oh, it's all right. Like, I'm still recovering from like my ankle. Like, need to get in the gym here. And he's like, why? I'm like, well, I got to get ready for camp. He's like, you got to be ready for September? No, you don't. You got to be ready for April. I'm like, it's not 1985 anymore, man. Like, guys coming to camp ready to go. Like,
I'm also not putting up 135 points like you were, just dancing around the sheet, doing whatever you wanted to do, man. You could show up just with, you know, not skating one time and still be unbelievable out here. Hey, do you know Tyson Berry's dad at all? Just being in the Penticton area, Len Berry. Do you know him at all, Stechy?
No, I don't know him personally. Obviously, like the hockey world's so small, so like I know a lot of people that do know him, but on an individual level, I don't.
I just met him yesterday. I just wanted to tell this story quick. I was sitting there with him and Ray Whitney, aka the Wizard, great player, obviously 1,000 points, 1,300 matches, local Edmonton guy. But I was sitting there. I never met Tyson's dad before, Len, and he was telling a story about he was playing in the minors and he was playing against this guy that I don't know was chirping him all game, and he was like, you know, basically chirping him about his wife, and you know he knew his wife was pregnant, saying like, hey, like, how's your wife and how's my fucking kid? And he said he looks back on the bench, and he said this guy was tough, and he says, so he's chirping him, you know, he's like looking back, and he's like, you know, how's my wife and how's my kid? He goes, wife's good, kid's retarded. He just like that was his line. So just speaking of like old school one-liners, I mean, you can't say that in this day and age, but I just thought of that, and it was so funny, man. Like that guy, he's a riot. That guy. Len Berry.
Well, that's probably why. Isn't Tyson a pretty funny guy too? Like I've heard good things about him.
Yeah, I have
think he
to.
is.
I don't know him either, but I've heard some good stories.
Yeah. And Stechy, last little bit I wanted to just touch on with you, speaking of stories, was dating back to your freshman year. You came in with a fellow BC, British Columbia guy in Wade Marvin Murphy, and you guys were showing up to campus, and I want you to tell the story, but I just remember Hackstall pulling you guys aside. I think it was in the summer, maybe going into the fall, just starting up classes. Obviously, you guys got onto campus during the summer, and you took some summer classes. And I don't know if they were going great at the time. And Hack pulled you guys over fully knowing that you were either failing the class or had like a D in it, almost failing. And you guys get pulled over like right outside the locker room. And Hack's like, hey, boys, like, how the summer class is going? And you just look at him with a straight face. Yeah, good. And he's just like shaking his head. He's like, these guys not know that I can check their grades right here. And I know you're fucking almost failing them. Like, just touch on that because that was so funny, man. Hack still tells that story to this day. And even Jax, too, we get a good laugh at that.
Yeah, Ozzy can like chime in here, but I remember he like grabbed all of us incoming freshmen in the gym after a workout one day, and he's going around asking us how our classes were. And I think we were required to take like 3 classes that summer coming in, and Murph and I had gone to 2, and one class I think it was like music or something. We just kind of like pigeon tossed it to the side. We're like, we ain't going. So like our attendance was basically at 0, like our grades like 0% or whatever. And Hack's asking us, so he's like, how's your classes? And Murph and I just like without a beat, we're just like, yeah, great.
Yeah, going well.
Goes to the next guy, goes to like Tomer, Dewey, Goose, and Matt Barinkyu, and they're all like, yeah, great.
I remember he asked us again though. He's like, you sure? Like everything good? And you're like, yeah, no, good, really good.
I mean, Murph and I had a plan. We're like, all right, we got to go drop this class. Like we can't get this on the transcript. We got to find a way that they won't find out. But obviously he found out.
Stech, our class to me was so funny in school because we actually had a lot of guys like actually the decor. So Larry and Marv, Wade Murphy and Luke Johnson for the listeners, I wouldn't consider them school guys. Like I don't expect them to do well in school. Not to say they're dumb. They're just not school guys. You, me, Paula Dew, Keaton Thompson, we all had what it took to be good students. Like we could have been pretty good students if we wanted to. We just were there to play hockey. Yeah. And we were there to have a good time with each other. In school, I mean, I ended up graduating. I don't think anyone else did, but school was not high on the priority list for our group. And it was hilarious because we ended up having to go to study hall sophomore year as well. First class, like only class that had to go to study hall freshman and sophomore year. Because
that's not true because I was in your guys' study hall the following year. That's where I got to know you guys.
So I remember like didn't Hack like make a pact with us? He's like, if you guys get a cumulative 3.0, then you don't have to go to study hall. And we're like, deal. And he's like, puppy doesn't count though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
so,
oh boy,
right, we're done.
So sure enough, we were in study hall again the next year.
and then we had to Jordan, they made us go to the, what was it?
The high slot, the his slot.
The high slot.
The his slot.
Yeah. The his slot. They made us go there and clock in with our key cards. And we had to be there for, I think it was 5 hours a week. And what we would do is we go clock in our key cards and just leave and come back like 4 hours later and clock out. Well, I'm pretty sure we got caught doing that. And it was a big deal. Like you guys got to go to like we
moved the study hall to the rink in the classroom.
Yeah, moved it back to the classroom with a chaperone to watch us.
Yes.
And then you remember the one day we went back, we were freshmen and we went to I think it was Wilkerson to go eat dinner or whatever. And we had to go back to the rink for study hall at like 6 p.m. And we showed up at like 6:02 and Hack's sitting there.
Oh yeah.
And he just like starts having a casual conversation. Like, hey boys, like where were you at? We're like, oh, like we were just like running the calf. Like we're back here for study hall. And like Dewey said something and he absolutely ripped into him, man. Just like light switch flipped off and he just reamed us out for being late, being dumb, not going to class. And we're like, what the heck happened here, man?
Oh yeah.
And he was so intimidating back then. I was like, oh shit,
he was the scariest dude I've ever seen in my life at that time. Like it was like, this guy is scary as shit.
But it didn't help that we all lived together. I mean, I remember like we'd wake up in the morning. It's like, anybody going to class? And all it took was one person to be like, Darcy's. And it was like, all right, we're going to Darcy's.
We're all going to Darcy's instead of class. Oh, it's bad, but it's hilarious.
Man. That house was all time, dude. Unbelievable. And you speak of just like Paul Ledoux and like just not how dumb the class was, but you guys were literally essentially just one person. And remember sitting in there when we had David Goggins on campus, and Goggins was sitting in our war room, in our video room, and we were kind of all filing in there, sitting down, grabbing some bench and grabbing one of those nice leather seats. And Dewey is a little bit late. He kind of runs in with a protein shake or a Powerade in one of those big cups. So he's kind of scrambling to get in there because obviously David Goggins is a fucking psycho. And he sits down and door shuts. And Goggins first off starts off. He's like, "What are you thinking about?" And Dewey's like, "I don't know." He goes, "See, that's the fucking problem right there." It just lights him up right away.
How hard is it? Yeah. I mean, we were all scared, but how hard were we laughing after the fact that he called out Dewey? He's like, "I don't know."
I don't know.
That's the fucking problem.
He goes, "I don't know." That's the fucking problem.
The other good story that I always like, I actually try to tell some guys that story because I mean Goggins is like so famous now, but like I think you gotta almost like know Dewey to understand like how funny it is and just the way like he responded.
Yeah.
But the other one was when we had JB Spizzo come in and Clark had his pen get stolen.
Oh my god.
That one was all time too.
Yeah, I took Saunders' pen. That was classic.
Was so funny.
Yeah, because Spizzo was obviously, people that are listening, was like this Army Ranger guy that would set up team building exercises for NHL teams, big time college programs, hockey, football, predominantly hockey. So Hack would always have him come in, or at least for 2 years he did, where you'd set up this obstacle course, team oriented. You'd kind of split off into 4 or 5 different teams of, say, 5 guys. And you go through this daily mission where you go carry big jugs of water, like 3 miles. One guy would have to do it. So every guy on a team in a group had an assigned mission within the mission. And one of the things you had to do was bring one Ziploc bag for the group, or maybe even for per guy, with items filled with things you had to collect the night before. So that'd be a pen, maybe a piece of rope, a tape measure. There was probably 9 or 10 different things on the checklist. So Spizzo ends up calling out just one guy to see if he has all of his materials. And that guy happened to be Clark Saunders, who I had stolen a pen from previously because I didn't bring my pen to the function in the locker room. I was scrambling. So I looked at Saunders' bag, being a good buddy of mine, a roommate. I stole his pen, not thinking anything of it. So he checks his, bag before we get this mission started. He goes, "Sanders." He goes, "Huh?" Because all the bags were together. He goes, "Sanders." He goes, "What? Where's your fucking pen?" He goes, "Oh, it's in there." He goes, "No, it's not, Sanders. Where's your fucking pen?" And so he dumped the Ziploc bag out. There's no pen in there. I'm sitting in the corner, dying laughing inside. I'm like, no way. And Saunders got assigned like these 75-pound jugs
to carry around the water
the whole time, which was like 5 miles. The whole day he had to carry that because of me. And I didn't end up telling him until like 2 months later. And he's like, "Fuck you, man."
I still remember him saying he had his pen in there. He's like, "Where's your pen?" He's like, "Oh, it's in there." He was like pumped. He knew it was in there, and it wasn't.
Speaking of Saunders, happy birthday to the Godfather.
Yeah. Oh man, what a legend. What a legend that guy is, man. We missed you this year on the golf trip, and he was in 2013 Clark Saunders mode. My God, he can still go. Stechy.
He's one of the best guys. Beauty. He's one of the best guys on the planet. I mean, it's not even close. Like, he is that guy is one of the big reasons why I thought our freshman year was just incredible.
Yeah.
He was in the dorm with us. He was a bald-headed, he looked like he was 30 at the time, jacked, and he was hanging out in the dorm with us. It was
remember when Tomer thought he was a coach?
Yeah.
Tomer thought he was one of the assistant coaches.
I showed up the first day when he first transferred from Alabama Huntsville with my dad at 18. My dad said, "Is that the strength coach working with Pooley this year?" I go, "No, I think that's our goalie." He goes, "What?" He's like 35. I go, "Yeah, I think he is."
When I found out he was goalie, I was pumped.
I know, because I thought he was going to be
thought he was a forward.
Yeah.
I had to fucking practice him all year and just get buried in the corner.
Dude, remember when he used to look at us with a straight face and say, unless you have over 10 drinks, it's not considered boozing? Saunders, how many do you have last night?
You drink last night?
10.
No. What are you talking about? I saw you having beers. I only had 9.
Only had 9 doubles.
9 doubles. I'm cracking.
Oh, man. What a fucking beauty. He wouldn't go down on Wednesdays because he was hung. Like, dude, you're a goalie. Like, you gotta go. You'd shoot it along the ice and the warm-up
Score
drill.
5-hole on him, and he'd be pissed at you like, what the fuck are you doing? It's like, Saunders, we're trying to score goals here. Why would I not put it on? You're giving me the 5-hole.
You're doing the carousel drill, like the 2-on-0. You come down, you fire it right along the ice. It would go in. You get back in line. You just look. You go, seriously, man, fuck you.
That's
oh my God, what a beauty. Oh,
Saunders, how you feeling? To be honest, coach, pretty tired. Holy fuck, he's not starting. Remember that story?
I can't go back to back.
Yeah.
Oh man, he is all time. That is good shit. Well, Ozzo, you got anything else for Stechy? Because I think I'm all set. My last question, Stechy, was just best sushi in Vancouver, just for the people when they're flying in to Van City. You knowing the ins and out of the city. What's the one spot you're sending them to?
Probably Manami or Miku. It's the same restaurant. They're sister restaurants, just different locations, same owner, same chefs. It's what Vancouver's known for in regards to their sushi. You can ask Bess about it. He posts it on his Instagram every single time he eats there. So
that's a spot you took me, right? When we went there and we had like 10 of those salmon oshi rolls and we just
that's
cooking
the roll,
them up.
It's just like pure butter. It's so good. I don't think they're very good for you, but
no,
the fish
it can't
is caught the day of, and then it's got like the Japanese mayo, and then they torch it, and it's unbelievable.
Yeah, that's all I had, Stech. Thanks for coming on, brother. It's always good to see you. And
that was awesome.
Little funny fact: all 4 defensemen from the 2013 class are getting married in the year 2025. First time marriages. So it's a pretty funny fact.
Yeah,
that is hilarious. It's just a copycat league. Stechy held out a year thinking, you know what, this was kind of a busier summer for some guys, and all of a sudden, all the Cowboys just decided to get married. You know,
yeah. Emma and I are actually spending next summer in Minnie, so I'll see a lot more of you guys.
Oh, fucking right.
Yeah.
Perfect.
That's awesome. Stechy, you're a good man, dude. Thank you for popping by. That was fucking awesome, man. Reliving some of those old stories too at the end. I'm in good spirits thinking about a good old Grand Forks, North Dakota right now, man. What a spot.
Thanks for having me, boys. That was awesome.
Yep. Folks, that was Troy Stecher, Edmonton Oilers defenseman, number 51, stopping by. That was Live in 5.